25. 3 tons on them.
You know the music, you know the fins, you know you didn't want to go near the water after seeing this film. But here's what you didn't know. Jaws was such a disaster during production, the crew started calling it Flaws. In the next few seconds, you will find out that the scariest shark in movie history almost never made it to the screen. But how did they pull it off? And what secrets are still lurking beneath the surface of Steven Spielberg's masterpiece? Stick around as we dive into the top 10 strange but true facts about Jaws. And we promise you're gonna need a bigger brain.
Yeah, he's working his way right up to us. Quinn!
Here, come on, Quinn! Come on! Hurry! Quinn!
Let's start with Bruce. That was the nickname the crew gave the mechanical shark. But Bruce wasn't just stubborn, he was a total nightmare. He broke down constantly, sank to the bottom of the ocean and caused filming delays that nearly bankrupted the production. Spielberg originally planned to show the shark in dozens of scenes, but because Bruce kept malfunctioning, he had to rework the movie so we barely see the shark. Ironically, that made it scarier. The fear came from what you couldn't see. So, yes, Bruce failed, and that failure? It accidentally created one of the most effective horror films of all time.
Robert was competitive about everything and anything. The reviews.
Dreyfus would say, what am I doing?
You thought the tension between Hopper and Quint was just great acting? Nope, that was real. Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss clashed on set from day one. Shaw mocked Dreyfuss constantly, calling him arrogant, inexperienced, and even challenging him to do stunts. Dreyfuss later said he was genuinely afraid of Shaw, and Spielberg? He let it play out. Why? Because the tension translated perfectly into their characters. Quint's gruff disdain, Hooper's nerdy frustration, that wasn't acting, it was two men barely keeping it together. Movie magic born from real-life beef.
He did everything he could not to be in the movie.
I turned the film down a couple of times because I was...
Wait, what? Yes, they started filming Jaws without a locked script. Scenes were being rewritten daily, often based on weather or which version of Bruce happened to be working that day. The famous Indianapolis monologue? It wasn't even in the original drafts. Robert Shaw helped write it himself the night before filming. Lines were improvised, characters evolved mid-shoot, and somehow the chaos produced a perfectly paced thriller. Proof that sometimes a little panic leads to genius.
Break the edge! You're a terrorist! Break the edge! Hold on!
2 notes. That's all it took. But when John Williams first played the Jaws theme for Spielberg, the director thought it was a joke. He laughed and said, "No, seriously, what's the real theme?" But Williams insisted. The simplicity was the point. The music mimicked the shark's instinctual, mindless drive. Soon Spielberg changed his mind. And now, those 2 notes are the sound of pure dread. It's been parodied, sampled, and reused in everything from The Simpsons to Stranger Things. Maybe next time, trust the composer. Spielberg wanted to shoot in the real ocean, not a tank, so they chose Martha's Vineyard for its calm waters and open horizon. Problem? It was too shallow for Bruce. Every time the mechanical shark moved, you could see the crane track or bubbles from the underwater rig. They had to constantly dig channels, time shots with the tide, and creatively frame every scene. What looked like a vast, endless sea was actually just off the beach, with camera guys standing in water up to their waists.
Slow ahead.
I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit.
Let that sink in. The man who directed Jaws, one of the most influential films in cinematic history, was just 26. He had made only one feature film before this, and the studio didn't fully trust him. Every problem on set, broken shark, weather delays, over-budget production, could have ended his career. Instead, Spielberg turned crisis into a career launchpad. By 30, he was the most powerful director in Hollywood. Not bad for someone who still couldn't legally rent a car in some states. Think about it. You remember that shark vividly, but Bruce only appears on screen for less than 4 minutes in a 2-hour film. Spielberg's workaround became genius storytelling. He used underwater POV shots, suspenseful music, and terrified reactions to build fear without showing anything. It's what Hitchcock called the power of the unseen. And when you do see the shark, it's always shocking. Less really was more. Before Jaws, summer was considered a dead zone for movies. Studios dumped films they had no faith in during June and July, but Jaws changed everything. It opened in over 400 theaters, a huge number for the time, used TV ads to build hype, and created lines around the block. It grossed over $470 million worldwide, on a $9 million budget. Hollywood learned a new word: blockbuster. Every summer mega hit since owed something to a rubber shark.
Smile, you son of a...
Author Peter Benchley based his novel on a terrifying real event. In 1916, a string of shark attacks along the Jersey Shore killed 4 people and injured several others. It caused mass panic. Beaches were shut down. President Woodrow Wilson even got involved. Benchley used that hysteria as inspiration, blending fear, science, and myth into his story. And it worked. People still refer to the 1916 attacks when discussing shark behavior today. Sometimes truth is more chilling than fiction.
How he places music in a movie. That's sort of something that's never discussed about the art of composition.
By the end of production, Spielberg thought he was done. The budget had tripled, the crew was exhausted, Bruce still wasn't working, and he feared he'd never get another directing job. He even skipped the final day of shooting out of anxiety. But the premiere changed everything. Standing ovations, record-breaking ticket sales, critical acclaim. He walked in terrified and walked out a legend. Sometimes the biggest fears make the biggest waves. Jaws wasn't just a movie. It was a monster, a broken-down robot shark, an untested director, a cast at war, and somehow it became a pop culture phenomenon. Which fact blew your mind? Let us know in the comments. And if you're hungry for more, like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because at Real Truths, we serve the stories that swim beneath the surface. See you next time, and remember, stay out of the water.